I became completely aware. And for the first time in such a long time, I felt what they talk about when they say that the presence of the present moment, that feeling of just being, that feeling that meditation is supposed to bring for us, that my brain became very quiet and I just became very, very aware, where it was the real me, the, want to call it higher self, and then there is this little me. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Soulful Intuitive. Today, we're going to talk about pain, physical pain, and somatic therapy. And because we are going to talk about somatic therapy, we're also going to talk about breath work. So I personally have been dealing with lower back pain for many, many years, and it started off in my teenage years, and it has been my friend on and off for the past many, many years. And if you ask my mother, she will tell you it's because I used to decorate her house and would move furniture without help. And that is one explanation. However, I don't agree with it. And we can always find physical reasons as why certain things happen to us. I am actually very good at moving furniture on my own without having to ask for help. Over the years, I have made it a skill, an art form, in order to move heavy things without helping or getting help from others, and using carpets and other ways to slide things on the floor. So, I have been trying to deal with that pain for seriously for the past 10 to 12 years, and it actually is one of the reasons why I was looking into doing ayahuasca, because I knew that the main reason behind my physical pain is like emotional pain and the trauma that I have been dealing with in my life, and I've been storing it in my lower back, which is a very common place to store trauma. But depending on the person, it goes to different parts of your body. Some people have it in there. They suffer from migraine. I have one family member who every month has severe migraine. And she's a physician, and she's really just looking into it as a machine malfunction, as a lot of physicians do look at our bodies as just a machine. And when it doesn't work properly, they will treat it as a machine that needs to be fixed. And because they don't necessarily put mind, body, and soul in one group, in one box. So if you have acid reflux, it's because of this. Just take this pill. And if you have a headache, just take a painkiller. And if you have migraine, then there's nothing you can do. And if you have hair loss, then that's just bad luck. And if you get cancer, that's just bad luck. So I think one of the very first books that I read, which is called You Can Heal Yourself by Louise Hay, was many, many years ago. And that book was basically a diary of her journey, because she was a model, I'm assuming in the 60s and the 70s. Very beautiful woman who then came down with cancer, and she did all the medical treatments to treat cancer, and then the cancer came back again. So she looked into the emotional aspect, and it turns out that she had dealt with abuse as a child, both physical, emotional, and the other forms, many times. And as she got older, just relationship problems with her parents and family members, and then she became a model, and that was another issue that she had to deal with just in that world of modeling. As we know, it's not a very clean-cut world, especially in the 60s and 70s, and especially for women. So she made a career out of helping people, and she was a great healer and helped a lot of men in the 80s dealing with HIV outbreak. And she used that opportunity in order to help these men who were unfortunately dying. And she has a chart in the back of her book that basically covers a lot of ailments and diseases and what is the emotional cause behind it. It's suggestive, of course. And you can also Google it online under Louise Hay disease cause, or like her definition of what's, for example, what's behind migraine, or what's behind prostate issues, and what's behind chronic headaches. So that was the first book that pushed me in a completely different direction, just getting in touch with what pain is and how we can take that journey in order to heal our physical pain, that we have to tap into our emotional pain. So, and then many, many books after, but lately, the past month or so, I started doing somatic therapy. For those of you who aren't familiar with somatic therapy, soma means body. Somatic therapy obviously is a way of talk therapy that involves your body, and it mainly, I mean, depending on the therapist you're dealing with, they have different approaches, but the one that I am dealing with, we started off with breath work. And I had always heard of breath work. I had never really done it myself, and I've done it and I would get dizzy, so I would just stop it. But I have talked to a few of my clients that go to these retreats and just do breath work, and by only doing breath work, they reach that like level of high that, let's say, a medicine like ayahuasca can bring out for people. So I knew of it. I had just never really gotten into it. But also I have really tried, like I've tried meditation, and it's impossible for me to reach that level of like quiet and the place where the meditation promises you to go by practicing meditation. And I've tried the 1 minute one and 2 minute one, and I've tried just sitting there, and usually I just fall asleep, which is not where you want to be when you meditate. You want to quiet your mind, but you don't want to fall asleep. But I went into this office completely by accident. I was at my chiropractor's office, and the secretary at this office recommended someone, and then that someone recommended somatic therapy. Then I also heard it from two of my clients that one of them is actually a therapist that recommended somatic therapy, and the other one just a good client of mine / friend. Also, she's an RMT, so she had a very good results by going to this particular therapist that I ended up going to, and she's super accommodating. Obviously, she is a healer. By just sitting in front of her, even the first session, without even, we hadn't even started doing somatic therapy, I noticed that as soon as I sat down at her presence, at her office, my back pain started to feel better. And then the next appointment, we actually got into it. So she started off with 3 minutes of breath work, which you take 2 deep breaths in, so 2 inhalations back to back, like from your nose, and 1 big exhale. And you do this for 3 minutes. And I was sitting on her chair, closed my eyes, and I did it for the first minute or so. It was kind of uncomfortable because I'm usually congested, unfortunately. And actually I take inhalers, but that day I forgot to take my inhalers. So I was trying to find as much air possible to inhale. And somewhere halfway, I would say a minute or a minute and a half into the breath work, I started to feel high. And it reminded me very much like when I did ayahuasca, and I just elevated. I spiritually elevated, and I noticed that right away my posture became very Buddha-like. I became very elongated and erect. She kept asking me a few questions because I remember the last inhalation, exhalation that we did was at the end of the 3 minutes, and she asked me for the last breath, the inhalation, to keep it in for like a few minutes or a few seconds longer, and then exhale, which I did. And I experienced so much bliss. I hadn't been that comfortable in weeks because of my back pain. And for those of you who have any kind of chronic pain, you know that you can't sleep well. And because you can't sleep well, you can't really rejuvenate, you can't recharge. So you just wake up and you just try to crawl your body out of the bed and to the kitchen. You have your coffee, and that jolt of energy wakes you up. Or that's how I do it anyway. And I became completely aware. And for the first time in such a long time, I felt what they talk about when they say that the presence of the present moment, that feeling of just being, that feeling that meditation is supposed to bring for us, that my brain became very quiet and I just became very, very aware, where it was the real me, the, want to call it higher self, and then there is this little me. And she kept asking me questions like, how are you feeling? What do you see? Do you see anything? Do you hear anything? And I just told her, I just am. And then I realized that, and usually when I've done other therapy, the different ways of therapy where it's like a semi-hypnosis, where I was asked questions, and then when I was answering them, I thought I was making them up, where in this particular instance, I wasn't. I was very sure of what I was saying. I wasn't feeling like I was making it up, or I'm a fraud, or this is stupid. I became very aware of my higher self and how all of a sudden I had this inner peace. I had zero anxiety. I felt very comfortable. I felt very powerful. I felt very in tune with the universe. And the few minutes, or I would say the whole therapy lasted about an hour. And when she said it was over, I didn't feel like it was more than a minute. And I started crying, which is actually a problem for me. I usually don't cry, which is probably why I have back pain, because I don't release my sadness or fear, all the underlying emotions that I have there. And and she asked me, why are you crying? Or what is the emotions you're experiencing? And I said, well, I'm just sad because I keep forgetting how big and how powerful I am. And this is not me. This was collective, us, all of us humans, because we're all connected and we're all like one. And we forget how big, powerful, and empowered we are. We are godlike. And for those of you who have religious background, or are a believer in one of the books, this is again following all of those books, which we are very powerful because we are made in the divine image. And I wept because I just remembered about all of my anxieties, about all of my fears, about all of the things that keep me up at night. And when you become aware, when you elevate, to your higher self and you look down at your lower self or your less than elevated version of you, you at the lower wavelength, then you become very sympathetic and compassionate for like all of us when we drop our wavelengths, and then we become this mind full of chatter, this mind full of anxiety, this mind full of fears and what ifs and all the reasons that we are robbed of the present moment, that we are robbed of our happiness, that we are robbed of our power. And I did not want that session to end. I felt so blissful. I didn't even know why I was no longer slouching. I didn't know where my back pain went because I pretty much had it until I sat down and started the breath work. And that day was a very bad day for my back. And it felt like a miracle. And it felt like some magic happened. And I remembered another sensation because I usually have cold feet, where there was electricity going down my spine and through all my limbs, especially my feet were just having that tingling sensation. And it started to ground me to the floor. Like I felt like I was part of this earth, and not that I was nailed to the floor, but I was the floor. And then my feet were just radiating heat up my body. And I experienced what it's like to be grounded. And then I realized how ungrounded I am most of the time because I'm not even in my body. Most of the time I'm in my head. And this applies to majority of people. And we only know that we're not grounded when we do feel grounded. And we only know that our wavelength is dropped when we go back up where we're supposed to be. And the tears that came out of my eyes were just so genuine. And the empathy that I felt for myself was so real, and I didn't feel stupid for saying those things to my therapist because she asked me, what is it for? And I said, I am just sad because I just bring myself so much pain. I'm sad because I don't see the value of me. I'm sad because I don't see the power that resides in me. And that applies to all of us. We don't see how powerful we are. We don't see what peace is and how we can access that peace and bring that peace and live on that peaceful note all the time. So after that session, I was feeling so light. It felt like I was walking on the clouds. And I had to go to work after that. And that entire day, my mood had changed. I felt so real, so connected, so with it. And when I feel connected and when I feel with it, like most artists out there, your art just changes. It doesn't feel like you are your skills. It feels like you're just being operated through these invisible wires that are like attached to your hands. Like you're the puppet and there's a puppeteer up there. And, if you ask any artist when they're in the zone, they can tell you that they don't know what's happening. They have done all the training and they have the muscle memory. But if you ask them, why did you do this first and this second? They usually can't tell you because they're in the zone. They're being guided. And the days that I feel connected, everything comes to me so naturally. I know I don't second doubt myself. I am on time. Everything goes according to the plan. Everyone's happy. I'm happy. I make everyone else around me happy without feeling depleted. Because sometimes when you are trying to bring harmony and peace and positive energy to your environment, then you're depleted. But when you become the vessel, it's no longer coming out of you, it's coming through you. And that day, that's how I felt. And I remember I came home and I told myself, I'm going to do this breath work every morning. And I have been doing that. It's only 3 minutes. I put a timer on my phone. And when the timer reaches the third minute, I just stop. I turn down the volume so it doesn't, so the music doesn't bother me. And I close my eyes and I just go through that nothingness. I go through that quiet. I go through that peacefulness. And then I review my goals. I review my dreams. I review what I have ordered to the universe. And I love the fact that sometimes I open my eyes and it's been half an hour. Sometimes I open my eyes, it's been 11 minutes. Sometimes I open my eyes and it's been 40 minutes. But it's a place where I no longer fall asleep, where I am recharging my mind. And I also go to that space between our reality and the other realm. And this is a place, if this is our reality and this is the other realm, this is a place where form is ordered. Basically, this is the kitchen for the form, for what we want in this world that we live in, full of forms. And I also feel like I'm healing my body by connecting to the other realm and to the oneness that we all are. And I sometimes wake up and I'm not in the mood and I force myself. And every time I'm happy that I've done it, and I will report back more on somatic therapy because I've had only a few sessions and I'm sure it will keep unfolding and teaching me more. And I highly recommend it. You can go online and do your own research. Somatic therapy, for those of you who suffer physical pain in your body. And also it's just a piece of information that you can just pass it on. I was talking about it out loud at my salon and someone was waiting to go into the room that's rented out by my lash lady, my eyebrow specialist, and that a lady just stopped at my chair and said, can I please get this person's number, because what you explained is exactly what I want. And that's what I love. I love when these things, these serendipities happen, and your knowledge and the effort that you've made to help yourself, and then you go and talk about it, will help someone else. And I live for those moments. I am always trying new ways to help myself and also help others, because I think one of the problems that people have is their fear of what if it doesn't work, and because of that they don't even do it. But I'm really blessed in a way that I'm very adventurous, and I will try anything that sounds helpful in order to make me a better person, to elevate my soul, and anything on the road of self-development. And also helping my body helps my soul, because healthy mind, healthy soul, healthy body, they all go together. So that's it. This is just a little story about my somatic therapy session, and I hope that everybody at least is curious at this point to go look up breath work and somatic therapy and how it could add to the quality of your life. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you very soon.